I was just reading in this nice collection of reminiscences of senior monks by Swami Chaitanya ji. So far, I think it's only available in Bengali, but they're working on an English translation. I forgot one of the senior monks, I think it's Swami Sarvapriyananda ji, probably, in a reminiscence about Mahatma Gandhi, which I did not know earlier. At one time, this monk, very senior monk of our order, he was working in a relief camp for, I think there was some famine relief or something like that. And Mahatma Gandhi also was in that area. The Swami went to meet Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi asked him to read from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. And every day, for the next few days, he said, you come at this time and you read to me from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. And one day he went, and Mahatma Gandhi's secretary told him that today Gandhiji is busy, some other engagement is there, has an important engagement. So the Swami returned without reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. And the next day when he went, Mahatma Gandhi asked him, Swamiji did not come yesterday? So he said, yes, I did come, but your secretary said you had an important meeting or important work. And Mahatma Gandhi said, that is this not important work? This reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. I have to find out exactly who the Swami was. And another story which especially the Indians here will relate to is Netaji Subhas Bose. So this is by one Swami Bhaswarananda in the 1940s, 50s. He was in the Ramakrishna Mission Ashram in Singapore when the Japanese occupied Singapore. So this Swami was there, and Netaji Subhas Bose he came to Singapore, and he used to regularly visit the ashram. The Swami has given a detailed account of his meetings with Netaji Subhas Bose, how Subhas Bose would come to the ashram. Subhas Bose invites this Swami to his residence, discusses the work of the Ramakrishna Mission, has dinner with him, sends his Japanese bodyguard to collect a japa mala from the ashram, asks the Swami for a copy of the Chandi. The Swami gave his personal copy, and Subhas Bose was delighted with getting that. Very interesting reminiscences. And there is an orphanage there. Even now it's there. At that time, they had 300 children living there in that orphanage. To make a building for that, Netaji Subhas Bose collected the money and inaugurated that orphanage. So these are interesting reminiscences. All right, let us start. Om Tava Kathamritam Tatta Jivanam Kaviviritam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvi Grinanti Bhurida Jana. So the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We are reading on Sunday, April 9, 1882. The date is Sunday, 9th April, 1882. And the page is 98, page 98. So this is the house of Pran Krishna, and his neighbors had gathered around because Sri Ramakrishna was visiting. One of the neighbors asks, Sir, is it ever possible to realize God while leading the life of a householder? And the master replies, certainly. But as I said just now, one must live in holy company and pray unceasingly. This part we had done last time. One should weep for God. When the impurities of the mind are thus washed away, one realizes God. The mind is like a needle covered with mud, and God is like a magnet. The needle cannot be united with the magnet unless it is free from mud. Tears wash away the mud, which is nothing but lust, anger, greed, and other evil tendencies, and the inclination to worldly enjoyments as well. As soon as the mud is washed away, the magnet attracts the needle. That is to say, man realizes God. Only the pure in heart see God. A fever patient has an excess of the watery element in his system. What can quinine do for him unless that is removed? So with this part we had read last time. Why shouldn't one realize God while living in the world? But as I said, one must live in holy company, pray to God, weeping for His grace, and now and then go into solitude. Unless the plants on a footpath are protected at first by fences, they are destroyed by cattle. Neighbor, when householders too will have the vision of God, won't they? Master, everybody will surely be liberated, but one should follow the instructions of the Guru. If one follows a devious path, one will suffer in trying to retrace one's steps. It takes a long time to achieve liberation. A man may fail to obtain it in this life. Perhaps he will realize God only after many births. Sages like Janaka performed worldly duties. They performed them bearing God in their minds, as a dancing girl dances, keeping jars or trays on her head. Haven't you seen how the women in northwest India walk, talking and laughing while carrying water pitchers on their heads? Neighbor, you just referred to the instructions of the Guru. How shall we find him? Master, anyone and everyone cannot be a guru. A huge timber floats on the water and can carry animals as well. But a piece of worthless wood sinks if a man sits on it and drowns him. Therefore, in every age, God incarnates himself as the Guru to teach humanity. Satchidananda alone is the Guru. What is knowledge and what is the nature of this ego? God alone is the doer and none else. That is knowledge. I am not the doer, I am a mere instrument in his hand. Therefore I say, O Mother, thou art the operator and I am the machine. Thou art the indweller and I am the house. Thou art the driver and I am the carriage. I move as thou movest me. I do as thou makest me do. I speak as thou makest me speak. Not I, but thou, but thou. From Pran Krishna's house, the master went to Colonel Vishwanath's and from there to the Lily Cottage. So a lot has been packed in here. Sri Ramakrishna says, why shouldn't one realize God while living in the world? It's a very important question. And um, more so as when we see this world, people ask this question in different forms. We have so many activities and responsibilities in the world. How can we practice spiritual practices while staying in the world? That's another form of the same question. Another form is there's so many distractions in this world. How can one keep one's mind on God in the midst of this world? And so on. So Sri Ramakrishna is very clear on this. God realization is our goal. It's an important, very central fact to realize in life. Before God realization, that we must realize that God realization is our goal. That itself takes a lot of maturity. That spirituality is real. It is a solution to what we are actually seeking in life. And we must come to this path. That maturity has to come. If suffering is not there, I'm using a language written by Vachaspati Mishra more than 1,000 years ago in his commentary on Ishvara Krishna's Sankhya Karika in the first verse. I've read this out some time ago once. In the Sankhya Karika, the first verse is on the nature of suffering. I think I read it out in a class in the Bhagavad Gita class, I think, a few weeks ago. The first verse of the Sankhya Karika, which is the oldest available authentic text on Sankhya philosophy, the first verse goes, Dukkhatraya abhighata jihasa tad apaghata ke hetau drishte sa partha chet na ekanta atyanta bhavat. What does that mean? Afflicted by the threefold sorrow, a person seeks ways to overcome this sorrow. Dukkhatraya abhighata, afflicted by threefold sorrow, seeks ways to overcome sorrow. That apaghata ke hetu, jihasa means with the desire to give up, to come out of it. Now the objection is, but the world, there are so many solutions available in the world. Why go for a spiritual path? Why go for God realization, philosophy, spirituality? All this seems so theoretical, so difficult, and so on. Drishte sapartha chet. Drishta means the observed, readily available means of overcoming sorrow. And Vachaspati Mishra, the great like a master of different philosophies, who lived around 1,000 years ago, a couple of hundred years after Shankaracharya, he has written amazing commentaries on Vedanta, the Bhamati, which is a commentary on Shankaracharya's commentary on the Brahma Sutras. But he has written commentaries on all the other branches of Indian philosophy also, on Mimamsa, on Nyaya, on Yoga, and on Sankhya. So the Sankhya Tattva Kaumudi, what a beautiful name. The moonlight which reveals the inner truths of Sankhya. That's the name of the commentary. So there, he says, he explains this. He says that so many options are available to us. He says that if you're ill, go to the doctor. And so relevant in today's age. If you ill, go to the doctor. If you are bored, there is entertainment. Even more relevant in today's age. And endless entertainment is available to you. If you have social problems and economic problems, then there are economists and politicians and all who are available to solve the problems. And then he goes on to say, if there are natural calamities, there are rituals, Vedic rituals to overcome these natural calamities. So seen and unseen, I mean, worldly and otherworldly means are there to overcome your problems. Why chase a spiritual solution? If there was no suffering in the world, I recall his beautiful Sanskrit, Yadi dukkham nama jagati nasyat. Jagati, jagat, in the world, dukkham nama nasyat. If there is no such thing as sorrow, where would the spiritual inquiry arise? Somebody was saying that when we are under pressure, under sorrow, under suffering, it's quite easy to take to this seriously, to take to a spiritual path, to maybe pray to God or think about it seriously because of the heavy blows that the world gives us. But when things go well, the motivation is not strong. I mean, we become busy with worldly life. See, here is the thing. It's an important observation. This will happen only when we define ourselves, when we do not define ourselves as spiritual seekers. When I think basically I am somehow this person in the world and I'm trying to be happy with all the means of happiness the world has given me, only when it does not work, I will explore spirituality and meditate and pray to God. But otherwise, see, that's what will happen. When the pressure is off, when things are not so terrible, we tend to sink back into a nice life. Things are going on well. Things are going on well. What's the problem? There is no urgency in spiritual inquiry. So how do you overcome that? You overcome that by, first of all, at the root, redefining yourself. Define yourself as a person in search of God. Define yourself mentally, within yourself. You are a spiritual seeker. Your goal in life, your meaning in life, your whole mission in life is enlightenment, God realization. You don't have to put it on your Facebook status, but you have to be very clear that this is who I am. If things go well, very good. I'm still a spiritual seeker. I'm a meditator. I'm doing inquiry into nature of the self. I'm devoted to God. I'm committed to the service of God and humanity. If things go badly, I'm still the spiritual seeker. It's the same thing. It does not matter how things are going in the world outside. Such a person, when things go bad, things go well, even then that person will still be a spiritual seeker. That's what he or she is basically. So suffering in the world pushes us towards spirituality. Now that verse in Sankhya Karika, it says, so what is your answer? I've got so many worldly solutions to suffering. He says, no, it will not work. Atyanta ekanta bhavat. None of these methods are certain to take you beyond suffering. None of them. You have 100-year-old people, literally these news items, 105, 108-year-old person. So here we have Bill Conrad here. I think he's in the class today. He's 96. and he had COVID, and he recovered in less than 3 days. And you have all these terrible things about children and young people. You're getting so many news items from India that young people passing away from COVID, dying, even without any apparent underlying condition. How do you explain it? No certainty. Ultimately, it's probabilistic. It does seem to work. All the therapeutics and our methods of trying to help a sick person, but there is no guarantee. There is no guarantee that it will work. Mental health, the best of caregivers. I've seen some noted psychiatrists back in India, best caregiver, and carefully observing the patient. Patient commits suicide. This one case I saw myself, and the psychiatrist said I was worried, but it was being given full care. So physical problem, physical illness, mental illness, with all support, with all help, still doesn't work. And sometimes no support, no help. Persons recover, pull on, at least carry on. Na ekanta, ekanta bhava. Ekanta means certainty. Anta, end, conclusion. Eka, one conclusion. Certain, it will work. No. Let us be honest, it does not work. What about praying to God and God will take care of us? Yes, to some extent it will work. But just take a look around. For thousands of years of human history, millions and billions of people have been devoted to God. Who has been saved from death, ultimately? Who has been saved from suffering, illness, old age? Who? Nobody. Not one. So can't God stop this? Can, but God won't, because God knows that that's not the right way. If there were no problems in this world, we would not grow and achieve our true nature, our infinitude. We would be happy and content to remain within these little cages of flesh and blood. So suffering ultimately is a prod to our spiritual life. Yadi dukkham nama jagati nasyat. Simple Sanskrit. 1,000 years ago, this Vachaspati Mishra is writing. If there was no such thing as sorrow in this world, there would be no spiritual inquiry. Then another problem he writes, Vachaspati Mishra, the Ishwar Krishna. Not only there is no certainty, another huge problem is that atyanta bhavat. Atyanta bhavat means it is not a complete solution. There is nothing in the world which will completely satisfy our hearts, which will completely remove all our sorrows. No. Food, you eat food, you're going to be hungry tomorrow. Treat disease and recover from it, you're going to be sick again tomorrow or day after. Nothing is a complete solution. Not ekanta, no certainty in these worldly solutions. No atyanta, no finality or completeness in worldly answers to our problems. Because of these reasons, all your worldly attempts are bound to fail. Are bound to fail. Therefore, one inquires into spiritual life. And here Vachaspati Mishra gives pages after pages, very beautiful, lucid, vivid Sanskrit to show our worldly condition and to say that it will not work ultimately. And so ultimately, but then is this pessimistic? Not at all. It's deeply optimistic. It is telling you your destination. All of these problems, it's just because we want to remain limited in this tiny, limited individuality, a kind of material individuality. No. You must grow and burst out from this material identification with body and mind. So for that, there is spirituality. And it is possible for everybody. You don't have to be formally a monk, though I've always said you have to be a monk-like internally, but for householders, for monks, for whoever, men, women, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, atheists, everybody ultimately God realization is possible. Will householders too will have the vision of God, won't they? The master says, everyone will surely be liberated. I have shared this with you earlier also. The why follow a spiritual path? This question was posed to me by Professor Parimal Patil at the Harvard at Harvard University in the philosophy department. He teaches Indian philosophy. One of the most really brilliant persons I've seen. Extraordinary intellect. He said, how many people attain enlightenment, Swami? You have to admit, very few. Then why should, if the chances of success are so low, why should one enter into spiritual life at all? Tell me, what is the answer? So I said, I'll give you two answers. And then he gave me a third one. I've shared this with you earlier. The two answers I gave one was this one. Everyone will surely be liberated. So that how many people get enlightenment to liberation? We're seeing very few. I said, no, everyone. Everyone will get liberated. And that is the whole purpose of human life. So come to spiritual life and start your journey as soon as possible. And this is answer number one. Answer number two, which I gave was that what else will you do? Once you have tasted spiritual life, once you have begun to understand, once your paradigm has shifted and you begin to see it, I'm not even saying Vedanta. You could be a bhakta, a devotee. You could be a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, in any format. Some kind of deep, genuine spirituality. Once you have tasted it, what else will you do? Where else will you go? You are caught. You will have to stick to this path. Whether you think a few people will get enlightenment or everybody will get enlightenment, it doesn't matter. You will stick to it. What else is higher than this? What else is better than this? Everything else you'll carry on, but this will become the most important thing in your life. So these two answers I gave him. And then he said, they are good, Swami, these answers, but they are a little theoretical. I'll give you the real answer. Why people come to spiritual life? Why should you pursue spiritual life? And a very beautiful answer he gave was, I've shared it with you earlier also, that people are in spiritual life for the blessings that spiritual life brings to them day after day. God realization, enlightenment, nirvana, freedom from the cycle of birth and death, goal of human life, all that is fine. But it sounds very distant. Now what am I getting? I'm getting blessings. I'm getting peace of mind. My life is becoming deeper and more meaningful. I'm getting strength. I'm rising above the superficialities, the ups and downs of life. I've got more strength and peace of mind to face the troubles of life. That is why I am pursuing a spiritual life, day to day. I agreed. I said, yeah, that's a very fine answer. And that's true also. Most people, we stick to it because of that. We are getting the benefits now. Sri Krishna said, Swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Even a little bit of practice saves you from great fear, from great anxiety, from great trouble in life. But Sri Ramakrishna says here, everybody will surely be liberated. Next, he says, but not in a haphazard way. He says, one should follow the instructions of the Guru. If one follows a devious path, one will suffer in trying to retrace one's steps. It takes a long time to achieve liberation. A man may fail to obtain it in this life. Perhaps he will realize God only after many births. So this is what all great spiritual masters have taught, that there is a way. Like the Buddha put it very clearly, there is suffering in the world. Yes, there is a solution. There's a cause of suffering in this world. And there is a solution to suffering in this world. And the solution, there is a way, a system, a method is there. There's a particular method we called marga. First truth, dukkha. Sarvam dukkham. This realization, it takes long time to understand. We generally feel there's a mixture of good and bad. And look at the good, avoid the bad, won't work. That's a terrible philosophy, because you'll just find suffering increasing and increasing till it engulfs one. Everything may be fine outside. A sense of like a cancerous emptiness and hopelessness will seep into one's own life. At least a restlessness will come inside. So, dukkham, take it seriously that you're surrounded by a sea of sorrow. It's only by the grace of God, call it what you will, that we are able to remain, at least in some shape, a little bit of good health, little bit of mental stability, things are a lot of going well. It's an island of stability in an ocean of sorrow and suffering. Now, sarvam dukkham. Use this little time, this little space of stability to start spiritual life. Second, the second great truth is this sorrow the very nature of things? There's no cause to it? There is cause. It is not natural. This sorrow is not a given thing. One can actually overcome it. It is possible to live a life without sorrow. So he said there is a cause of sorrow. It's not uncaused. If it was uncaused, what would be the problem? Then there's no solution then. A causeless thing which is there, then you cannot remove it. So this uncaused sorrow then you cannot remove it. If there's a cause, then you can remove. Cause is trishna, desire, a hunger, a thirst for this worldly existence. Solution. There is a solution. You can go beyond sorrow. And it is called nirvana, freedom. And then fourth, there is a way, marga. It talks about Ashtanga Marga, eightfold way. I remember we used to memorize it, and examination used to get 2 marks. You write all the 4, half a mark for each point in the social studies paper. Sri Ramakrishna says here, one should follow the instructions of the Guru. If one follows a devious path means no clear path at all. I do what appeals to me. People are often deluded in spiritual life. Anything that catches their fancy, they follow it for some time. Then they drop it, sink back into worldliness. Again, suffering that drives them back into spiritual inquiry. Again, they follow something. Don't do that. Pick up a path or take up something you are born into, whatever it is. Whatever is there which seems genuine to you, deep to you, profound to you, it should, Buddha's own instructions, it should be true and it should be good. For Bahujana Hitaya, Bahujana Sukhaya, it should be of something that gives welfare to everybody, and it should be true. Follow that systematically. Otherwise, Ramakrishna says it will take a long time, many lifetimes. This, all the dharmic traditions of Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, they all say that many, many lifetimes we have spent. And we are very, very lucky if we come across a teacher and the path, a spiritual tradition, which not only it is available to us, but we are attracted. That's very important. In Vedanta, they say that the grace of the 3 have come. Guru, Ishvara, Shastra. The grace of the Guru is there. Guru has given you mantra diksha. Guru has blessed you, opened the path for spiritual practice. God has blessed you. All this is available to you now. And there is an opportunity to practice spiritual disciplines. Shastra Kripa. Shastra Kripa is if you study Vedantic texts. This is specific to Vedanta. If you study Vedantic texts seriously, systematically, the understanding, at least, clarity and understanding dawns upon you. This is a great, great blessing. Many lifetimes worth of merit. You get this blessing of an insight into the heart of reality. But it says, the saying is, all 3 have given their blessings. Guru, Shastra and Ishvara. God and the scriptures and the Guru have all given blessings. But he says the seeker is ruined without the blessings of the one. Blessings of the 3 are there, but without the blessings of the one, the seeker is ruined. What is the blessings of the one? Your mind. The blessings of our mind must be there. The mind must be eager and willing and up and doing. Yes, I want this. Otherwise, ruined. With all those blessings also, no use. Not no use, next life. But next life is so much suffering, so much time suffering. Who knows what will happen? A man may fail to obtain it in this life. Perhaps he will realize God only after many births. Sages like Janaka performed worldly duties. They performed them bearing God in their minds, as a dancing girl dances, keeping jars or trays on her head. Haven't you seen how the women in northwest India walk talking and laughing while carrying water pitchers on their heads. So he gives examples. So yes, one must follow the path and do spiritual practices. But that brings us back to the original question, that we are householders. And in the midst of the household life, in the worldly life, how will you do this practice? And so he gives the answer. The answer is, sages like Janaka performed worldly duties. Swami Vivekananda expanded upon this as one of his talks, that in ancient India there were emperors interested in who practiced Vedanta. They led extremely busy lives. As compared to us, they were, he says, they were not like kings and queens of the modern age. British royal family were like figureheads. I'm adding that, he did not say it. They're not like figureheads in the modern age. They were absolute rulers. So they had enormous power and enormous responsibility. In the midst of that, they found the time and inclination to practice spirituality, to practice Vedanta. And then Swamiji says, how much more we should be able to practice. So here he says, sages like Janaka performed worldly duties. They performed them. I can't resist telling this. I've told this a number of times earlier, but it's so funny. Many years ago, I was invited by the Rotary Club of South Calcutta, I think, to give a talk on spirituality in daily life. And it was organized in a place called Calcutta Club, which is one of the remnants of the British Raj. So even now they have, I don't know if they've changed, but even now they had, at that time at least, 20 years back or so, not 20, 15 years back, they had a dress code. And this was certainly not the dress code. So I went and sat there waiting for the talk to begin. And I could see the manager and the assistant manager whispering and looking at me. And that, what do you do with this person? One of them came and said to me, Swamiji, is everything all right? Are you meeting somebody here? They thought I was there for maybe donations or something like that. I said, no, I've been invited for a talk in one of your venues. So they escorted me inside and they said, you just wait here. You're early. Only one lady was sitting there. Elderly, maybe in her 60s, but very majestic looking, tall, and like a lot of personality. So she came forward and she said, oh, are you today's speaker? I said, yes. And then she was very hospitable and very friendly. So we started talking, easy to talk to. So what were you doing? Where were you? I started saying that I had gone last week to give a talk at Burdwan University. Those who are from Bengal, they know Burdwan University. I'd gone there to give a talk, Burdwan University. And she said, oh, Golab Bagh campus. I said, yes. Where was the talk? I said, it was this very big lecture hall, She smiled and delight. She said, oh, that was my room. I said, your room? It's a huge hall, and it's a very old building. So I should have introduced myself. I'm the princess of Burdwan. And then I realized, so the whole story is that her father was maybe the last king, and he donated the palace which became the university. And it was this little girl's room, which is a huge lecture hall today, where I was giving that talk. I had given that talk. So she was the first princess, I think, or maybe the only one I've ever met. Anyway, now the funny and embarrassing part was when my talk started, the audience gathered and I started my talk, I'd already prepared it. And I quoted from Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda said, the absolute monarchs of what they were real rulers, not figureheads like the kings and queens and princesses of today who are just figureheads. They have no power or responsibility. They're just there like that. And she was sitting in front. I almost bit my tongue after saying that. And there was this other gentleman sitting next to her who did like this to her, like as if, look, he's speaking about you. I hope she did not mind. But it is true. As Sri Ramakrishna says, sages like Janaka performed worldly duties in the midst of so much responsibility, so much, no doubt, anxiety and tension and responsibility. Still, they kept their minds on spiritual life. They performed them bearing God in their minds. Then he gives an example. How can you perform a lot of activities, be busy in the world, and still keep your mind on God? He gives the example. As a dancing girl dances, keeping jars or trays on her head. Second example. Haven't you seen How the women in northwest India walk, talking and laughing while carrying water pitchers on their heads. So this is a reference to when Sri Ramakrishna had gone on pilgrimage to Benares, Kashi. So he had gone through Bihar, what is now Jharkhand, Bihar, and Uttar Pradesh. And so he was very observant. He would see in the villages, the women would go to the village well. They would go in a group and talking and gossiping. They would carry pots, water pots, a big one, a medium one, a small one. And they would fill up the pots from the well water, and they would put the pots on their head. So one big one, and then a medium one, and a small one. It's difficult. It's a difficult feat. Um, any slight imbalance, it will all come crashing down. And then they would go back and return home in that group, still keeping them those things not balanced, not only walking back with all of that on their heads, but actually relaxed and talking, and I'm sure gossiping about the events of the village and so on. And Sri Ramakrishna noted that. He said, just like that, in the midst of numerous activities in the world, in the family, in the community, in the profession, one can keep one's mind continuously on God. It is possible. I give the example of driving. So in driving, notice how many difficult things you're doing at the same time. You are reading signs on the road, you're keeping an eye out in the road, you're even carrying on a conversation with people in the car, or listening to an audiobook on the tape or whatever. And yet, in all of these activities, there's one thing primary in the background for a skilled driver, which is this fast moving vehicle. It's a dangerous machine, actually, moving at 60 miles per hour down the freeway. You have to be careful. You're aware that you're not going to hit somebody, kill somebody, or hurt yourself. And keeping that in mind, after that you do so many things. And it's something not so difficult because we all get used to it. Similarly, Sri Ramakrishna says, if you can do that, you can keep your mind on God and do you can be engaged in the world. So 2 examples. And the other example is a similar one about the dancing girl who dances keeping a tray, maybe sometimes with lit lamps. There's such feats of expertise. How is this possible? What is he indicating? It's a matter of training of awareness. Usually our mind is scattered and sort of out of our control. If you can train your awareness to centrally hold on to one thing, it could be, for example, in our tradition, it could be the mantra, Ishta mantra. So slow, like Holy Mother says, like the tick-tock of a clock. Notice how even and constant it is, the tick-tock of a clock, a wall clock. And it goes on evenly, constantly, no pause, no hurrying up, no restlessness, no slowing down. It goes on and on and on. Can the name of God go on in our minds in the background, just like you can drive in the midst of heavy traffic and yet manage everything. You can, or that woman carrying the pots is still talking and laughing with her other companions, or the dancing girl. So then you can be like Janaka. And it is his recommendation that we should be like that. Then the next topic. You just referred to the instructions of the Guru. How shall we find him? So it's very nice how these dialogues are structured. They're very natural. If you read carefully, whatever Sri Ramakrishna is saying is a response to the original question. And there are things which he has mentioned, and careful listeners pick up on that and ask further questions. So Guru, he mentioned the Guru, instructions of the Guru. Immediately somebody asks, you just referred to the instructions of the Guru. How shall we find him? The Master, anyone and everyone cannot be a Guru. A huge timber floats on the water and can carry animals as well, but a piece of worthless wood sinks if a man sits on it and drowns him. So an ordinary human being, we can be spiritual seekers, but it's not so easy to be a Guru. And then who is the Guru? Who can be a Guru? He says, in every age, God incarnates himself as the Guru to teach humanity. Satchidananda alone is the Guru. This is the ultimate Siddhanta. When you say Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Reva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. at one point, Swami Bhuteshanji said, it does not mean that the Guru is Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, or Param Brahma. It means Param Brahma is the Guru. Param Brahma is the Guru. The Guru is divinity. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, they alone, which is Satchidananda, that alone appears in the form of the human Guru. Sri Ramakrishna has given other examples also. In the Calcutta, in those British-made houses, which are very much like some of the old houses in Manhattan, actually. Water accumulates on the roof. And when it flows out through the water outlets, and they are shaped like gargoyles. And each of the gargoyles is different, like a fantastic beast or a creature from mythology. And each has a different face. There's water coming out from it. But all of it comes from the central pool of water on the roof. So these are things which Ramakrishna saw in his trips into Calcutta. Similarly, instruction may come from different gurus. It's all coming from the same source, which is Satchidananda. Shankaracharya, in his beautiful hymn, that Dakshinamurti Stotram. So there's a verse where he says, God, Guru, and you are one reality, that one consciousness. Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. I salute that one transcendent consciousness, sky-like consciousness, which is Dakshinamurti Shiva, which appears in three forms: as God, Shiva is God; as Guru, your Guru, the Guru that you know; and as you, Ishvara, Guru, Atma. Atma here means the individual being. You, your Guru, and God, they seem the three different forms, Murti Bheda, three different forms. But they are all behind that, is that like that one sheet of water on the roof. It is one transcendent sky-like consciousness called Dakshinamurti. That's what Sri Ramakrishna means here. Satchidananda alone is the Guru. That's why in our order, all our gurus who give President Maharaj, Vice President Maharaj, and the other senior monks authorized to give mantra diksha, who are gurus, they always will say that Sri Ramakrishna is the Guru. They always, no matter how great they are, they always say, they know that behind them there is one divinity which shines through all of these forms. Yes, our reverence is to the form in which we approached God, in which we got the mantra diksha. And it is very natural and it's very good to focus on a particular human form. But know that behind it is God. It's God alone who's coming through that channel. So this is the esoteric side of Guru. So what is the core of the teaching? And then he says, what is knowledge and what is the nature of this ego? And the knowledge is, God alone is the doer and none else, and that is knowledge. I am not the doer. I am a mere instrument in his hand. And then he says, therefore I say, O Mother, thou art the operator and I am the machine. Thou art the indweller and I am the house. Thou art the driver, I am the carriage. I move as thou moves me. I do as thou makest me do. I speak as thou makest me speak. Not I, but thou, but thou. If we don't realize this can at least be a prayer. It may not be a fact for us right now because we don't see it that way. But Sri Ramakrishna says, this is knowledge. Now this goes beyond Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. When you realize I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, after that what happens? You're still back to this world still appears and this body still appears and you know that you are one with the Absolute. But then this life, the people around you, this body, this which will carry on for a few more years, how do you see this life now? There, this devotion to God becomes very, very useful. It's very natural and it's very mature. It's a mature form of jnana, of knowledge. When you say, after realizing your nature is, I'm one with the Absolute. But this appearance of an individual, this is entirely controlled by Shakti, by the Divine Mother. And you keep mentally acknowledging the fact. That beautiful article on free will. So here the whole question of free will come up. So that beautiful article on free will by Professor Arindam Chakravarti, who says that prima facie we have free will. But if you investigate it, philosophically, theologically, and scientifically also, we don't have free will, most probably. And then you go further, you realize there is freedom, but no free will. Now what do you do? So 3 levels. One level, yes, we have free will, and all our law, our economy, everything is based on free will. Wear the mask, don't wear the mask, free will. Without that, there's no question of giving commands by CDC or opinions. Free will, we have a choice. So all our day-to-day activities, vyavahara, transactions, they assume free will. Even religion. When Sri Krishna gives instructions in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Ramakrishna gives teachings here, what is he assuming? Assuming that we have free will. Otherwise, how can somebody follow or not follow? Then deeper level, when you investigate, no free will. Second level. Theologically, as Sri Ramakrishna here says, it's all God's will. Or philosophically, there are many discussions. Professor Arindam Chakravarti has nicely summarized all those views. And finally, you have freedom. Third, deepest level. Now the question is, what do you do? What do you do with all of this knowledge? That's the conclusion which I liked in Arindam Chakravarti's paper. He says, with all this knowledge of the 3 levels, you realize ultimately no free will, but there is freedom. I am the free, ever free consciousness. And here I am appearing as this body and mind with an appearance of free will. Then what do you do with that appearance of free will? You acknowledge that it's an appearance. You keep saying, not I, not I. Namaha, he says, na mama, not mine. It is all thine. You keep acknowledging, keep surrendering to God and go through life like that. That is the best use of this appearance of free will. Sri Ramakrishna says here that it's mother who does everything. Not I, but thou, thou. And that does not stop him from doing the most intense activities, most intense spiritual practices. So it's not a question that, so will make us lazy, we will not do things. No, not like that. And then from there he goes to Colonel Vishwanath's house, and then he'll go to the Brahma Samaj in Lily Cottage. The next chapter is very interesting one, visit to Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, who was one of the most notable social reformers in Bengal at that time, and well known across India. All right. Let us see the comments. Alpana says, I went there a few weeks ago. Oh, Singapore, Ramakrishna Mission Singapore. Yes, Swami Samachittananda. So are you in Singapore now?
Yes, I'm based in
You're in Singapore. What's the time there now?
It's 8:15
in the morning.
In the morning.
Yeah, so it's a convenient time.
It's very convenient for me.
Yes, if you meet him, they're going to convey my pranams to him, Swami Samachittanandaji. They actually, the way the ashram is located now, the old ashram, I think in Bartley Road probably,
Bartley Road.
Bartley Road. That's the place where Subhash Chandra Bose had gone and used to meditate. Yeah. The new ashram is in very nice location. Pradeep Bose says, is there probabilistic uncertainty in worldly events, or is it just apparently so, with underlying deterministic certainty guided by karma or causality? Einstein's God does not play dice. I think from our perspective, probability is probably a more sophisticated and better understanding of what's going on, because deterministic approach, karma, causality, which we seem to get from our study of our scriptures, that seems too simplistic. Probably there is a determinism, but that's a much deeper determinism from God's point of view. From our point of view, if you approach it rationally, we can only sort of approximate it in terms of probability. But this is what I'm saying. Why I'm saying this is, if you look at karma or a simple causality or a simple determinism, it seems inadequate to capture the reality of this universe. Vishwanath says, Sri Krishna also calls this world Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam, a place, an abode of sorrow and impermanent. Yes. And then he says, Prapya imam asukham lokam bhajasva mam, having come to this world of sorrow, worship me. Abhijit says, this is a question about Professor Patil's third reason for practicing spirituality. Nisargadatta Maharaj has said, if you expect any benefits from your search, material, mental, or spiritual, you have missed the point. Truth gives no advantage. It gives you no higher status, no power over others. All you get is truth and the freedom from the false. Yes, but this is the greatest advantage. Freedom from the false. Notice this carefully. It does not give you any benefit. But what are the benefits? These are material, mental benefits, and spiritual. I don't know in that sense if he means spiritual, because status, power, wealth, these are all within the world and these are all false. And you get freedom from that falsity. It does not mean that it does not give you an advantage. It gives you the ultimate advantage, if you put it that way. It frees you from this entire trap. But it's the highest Advaitic perspective. As far as the world is concerned, your life and your body will go on as it is. But internally, it's a heaven and hell difference. Isn't there a risk that Professor Patil's third reason may make us complacent with the good benefits of spiritual quest instead of driving us towards yearning and mumukshutva? No, it will not make us complacent. The benefits are sattvic benefits. It's not that the benefits will be material. It will give you more power, it will give you more wealth. No. It will give you more devotion, more dispassion, more concentration. And these benefits are good because they free you. Ultimately, they help you in gaining the ultimate enlightenment. Punita ji says, is Thakur saying our higher self is our ultimate guru? And so Punita ji is always non-dualistic. So God is ultimate guru. Sri Ramakrishna says Satchidananda is the ultimate guru. In that sense, it's our higher self, no doubt. Bill says, even while on that path, shouldn't we keep in mind that we are machines and God is the operator? Yes. That is an interesting point. Actually, I was thinking about that before the class. That so should we hold on to this idea that ultimately it is all God's will, but right now I have free will and I must exercise free will? No, actually, Sri Ramakrishna is saying that right now also, have inside, let it be your philosophy of life, let it be a background awareness, a foundational awareness that it is all God's doing. And at my in my transactional level, in my day-to-day life, I will be up and doing. There's nothing to stop me from being up and doing. The question which is often asked is, if it is God's doing, then why will I? And then I don't feel like meditation or study or service. So God is not giving me that motivation. That's an empty question. That's just there because I am not spiritually motivated enough yet. I have to be up and doing. It's not God's doing. It's something that is entirely within my domain. See, when I need something in the world, I really want something in the world, then I don't wait and see, is God making me do it or not? I jump into it. How much? From a child who wants a toy, to the young person who wants a degree in a good college, to the person who wants a job or getting married or having children, how much effort and hard work people put into these things. There they don't wait and say, God is not motivating me. No, we are up and doing. Exactly to that extent, at least, we must be up and doing about spiritual life. After that, behind everything is God's will. That is a beautiful philosophy. It may seem apparently contradictory. It is not really. Pravir Babu had his hand. Do you want to say something?
Maharaj Pranam, I recently read somewhere, I can't remember now where I read it, but it said that after one has Advaita realization, surrender becomes very easy. Now, why is it so? I didn't understand. If you could please explain.
Yes, it is true. The Advaitic breakthrough makes surrender very easy. One reason is, main reason I think is, you have realized your oneness with an absolute reality, the absolute reality, existence, consciousness, bliss, in which appears this entire universe with its game of life, with this individual personality, and you have no more investment in it. Even the worst of things like death, that also does not affect you. Then There's nothing in this world that will scare you. There's nothing in this world that will tempt you. I was reading a very beautiful poem by Rumi. So they are Sufi poets, but their inner realization is non-dualistic. So there he says, who quoted it? That poem where it says that, and people are dying, I can't, the exact poem is very beautiful. This person dies, I still am. He dies, I still am. She dies, I still am. I die, I still am. And then at the end it says, I still am. That I still am, and it is stillness, and it is amness, isness, that absolute. It's very clear. From that perspective, all of this is, we call it drama, I call it a movie, call it a dream. Why would you not surrender it to the Lord? It's very easy to let go, and it's easy to recognize a divine play going on here. When you recognize that, it's nothing to do with me really. It's the play of the Lord. Same consciousness which I am, if you want to put it theologically, Vedantically, who is in charge here? God is in charge. And then who is God in relation to me? Absolute perspective, I and God are one. In the relative perspective, at the moment I say, my life, this world, then that absolute reality is God for me, Ishvara for me. And Ishvara is in charge. And it's very easy to see that and let go. Why we don't let go? It is because of temptation and terror. When this world is real, its fears and anxieties are very real. When this world is real, its offerings and its temptations are very real. And then it's not easy to say that some abstract reality called God is in charge and I'm all right with everything that happens. No. Then we want to make changes in this world according to our liking. And we prefer this way or that way. When Advaitic reality makes you see that you are the absolute reality, not this little person. Then what do? You make sure that the little person does its best. If the little person is a monk, be the best monk that there can be. Be the best father, mother, husband, wife, member of the community, the company. You can be as far as possible, not as a project. Then that becomes an ambition itself. No, it's very natural for that little person to do its best in the role, in the game of life, to play the game as well as can be played, because it's going to come to an end, not in in despair. It will come to an end at the personal level. But remember Rumi's poem, I still am, I die, I still am. So that little I will die, no, not the slightest worry about it. Then in that case, that little I, let it be the happiest, most peaceful, innocent I, which contributes the best it can to others as far as it can, and resigns the whole of this world to the Lord. See, everywhere this surrender to the Lord is inculcated, even before enlightenment, even before non-duality, in duality also. I have mentioned this earlier in The Imitation of Christ. One of the passages I like best, where the author, Thomas à Kempis, imagines that the disciple is speaking to Christ, and the disciple asks, or the Christ says to the disciple, if you want peace, my son, if you want peace, then do these 4 things. The first one is always seek to have less rather than more. And the second one is always seek to be last rather than first. Third one is always seek to do the will of another rather than your own will. But the fourth one, the most important one, in all things, see and accept the will of God. As long as you're in duality, as long as this is who I am and this is my world, and God is something I sort of believe in, it's very difficult to do these things. It's a struggle. It's a struggle, not external. It's internally, it's a struggle. Because I'm always asserting my own little individuality. And to tell this individuality, have less rather than more. Difficult, because having more, I sort of internally, subconsciously feel I am more if I have more. I am the limited being and I want to be more. This is also a reflection of my infinite nature. But I want to be more. How do I want to be more? By accumulating things. And now you're being told, Don't accumulate. Have less rather than more. Now, you remember you asked from Advaitic realization. If you have the Advaitic realization, have less rather than more. Easiest. You are already the infinite. You don't want the slightest thing in this world. Not one thing. I've seen, a few times mentioned after the passing away of some great Swami or the other, one thing I noticed, what were their possessions? And if you go to their room, Swami Premanand, I still remember, after he passed away, the direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, who was the manager of the entire Belur Mutt. After he passed away, they went to his room. There was one change of clothes, one pair of slippers, flip-flops, one Gita, and an empty canvas bag. That's it. Nothing else in life. Why? Because they don't feel, they feel there's infinity there. There's an unlimited nature. Things outside do not add even a tiniest bit. So have less rather than more, very easy. Always be last rather than first. In terms of what? In terms of consumption, in terms of enjoyment, in terms of credit. Of course you will be so full of love for others. You are so full, first of all. You're completely, permanently satisfied. So you don't want to be first in any kind of, trying to get credit, trying to enjoy something, eat something. No. The more you give, one thing I've seen in senior Swamis in Belur Mutt and all, they love to feed others. That is a funny thing. Go there, they love to give you something, to feed some, love to give things to you also. Swami Premananda, he's the manager of the whole monastery. He was so full of giving. And somebody complained to Swami Brahmananda, who was the president of the monastery, the first president of the Ramakrishna order. And Swami Brahmananda was a little annoyed. How will it go? How will things go on if you give away everything? There was a poor Brahmin who used to come to the mutt to meet the monks. He was childlike, a very poor man, a family man, but very poor man. And he would come, and he had this peculiarity that he would dance, chanting Jai Ma Kali, victory to Mother Kali, and he would dance. So that was his thing. So one day, Swami Brahmananda, who somebody had complained to him that Swami Premananda is giving away everything in the monastery. And they were poor. Remember, at that time, they were really poor. So he's walking in front of the main gate of the monastery, and this Jai Ma Kali comes dancing down the road, and he's holding, I think it was a pumpkin plant or something like that from the garden. The whole plant, along with the roots, had been taken up and given by Swami Premananda to this Jai Ma Kali. All the monks used to call him Jai Ma Kali. And he comes, and whom does he meet but Swami Brahmananda in front of the main gate. Swami Brahmananda looked at him, and Jai Ma Kali burst into his usual dance, shouting Jai Ma Kali, and waved the plant in front of Swami Brahmananda and danced on his way down across the gate. And of course, Swami Brahmananda did not take it well at all. He was grim, and he summoned Swami Premananda and said, slightly mildly, that if you give away everything, brother, how will we run the monastery? He said, Baburam da shab diye in Bengali, shab diye dile mot cholbe ki kore? And Swami Premananda was so affronted. He said, I am the manager of Belur Mutt. I can't even give away a pumpkin to somebody I want. Well, I won't stay here. And look at the sign of complete detachment. He has no connection to the most dear thing in the world, which is Belur Mutt. The moment he said this, he put his cloth on his shoulder, and he started walking towards the main gate. Swami Brahmananda did not stop him. He's saying, I'm leaving here. I'm not going to come back. I can't give away a pumpkin. What kind of manager am I? And one Swami Atmapriyananda told me this story actually. He's saying that, look, there is the president of Belur Mutt and the manager of Belur Mutt quarreling over a pumpkin. So, and after some time, Swami Premananda was back, quite shaken. And Swami Brahmananda said, what happened? You're going to leave us forever? And Swami Premananda said, I couldn't go, I went to the gate, and I felt somebody was pulling me back. And I looked around, and there was Sri Ramakrishna. He had put his towel, gamcha, on my neck. He was pulling me back. Where are you going, leaving me behind? In Bengali, he said, "Amake chhede kothay cholle Chad? You are leaving me behind. You can't go." And so he couldn't step outside Belur Math. Always seek to be last rather than first. For an enlightened person, it's very easy. It would be very difficult for an enlightened person to thrust one's little personality forward before anybody else. Never. Always seek to do the will of others rather than your own. Absolutely. They would always want others to be happy rather than they themselves. And finally, that's the main thing, to see the will of God in everything and to accept it. That's the reality for them. That's what Sri Ramakrishna says. You are the driver, I am the carriage. You are the dweller in the house, I am the house. And it's so clear to such people, to such enlightened beings, that they would be in a false position if they did not surrender. With your, Alpana says, with your constant reminding, it has become second nature that all this is appearing in one consciousness, but it's still a thought. How to make it reality? Hold on, we are working on it. We are all working on it. It is a reality right now. You don't have to make it a reality. Shweta says, should we not stay with the sense of I amness all the time instead of focusing on mantra japa or any other practice, which is a higher practice? This is a good question. It's very interesting. Just now I was reading the reminiscences written by Swami Chaitananji, Swami Shashwatanandaji, who was a very senior monk of the order. I never saw him, but Swami Chaitananji saw him in his old age, in Shashwatananji's old age. He used to live in Benares in Kashi. Shashwatananji was a staunch non-dualist Vedantist, and he was very close to Swami Turiyananda. And so just now, before the class, I was just reading this particular reminiscence. He says that after he was a young monk, he went to Swami Turiyananda and he asked exactly this question, that we have got an Ishta mantra, and it is dualistic. I have an Ishta Devata, a chosen ideal, a mantra, and I have to repeat it, I have to concentrate my mind on God and to repeat it devotionally. That's one. The other side, I have been given the Mahavakya when I became a monk, Aham Brahmasmi. And there's a certain thing called the Presha mantra, which is the transition from householder life to monastic life. It is supposed to be the holiest of holies, not to be shared, because the belief is anybody who hears it has to become a monk immediately. So it's and actually people are scared in the mountains in Uttarakhand. You know, the monk only has to threaten them that I'm going to give you that mantra. It's the greatest blessing, but then people are scared that then I have to give up everything, my house and my wife and children, and go off as a monk. So Swami Shashwatanji asked Swami Turiyananda, I've got the Presha mantra from my guru. I have got the Mahavakya, I am Brahman, which is non-dualistic. At least philosophically, there is a conflict between the two. So which one should I dwell on? And so Swami Turiyananda, I'll tell you briefly what he said. He said, from the perspective of an enlightened person, there is no contradiction between these two. It's only from our initial entry-level perspective that seems to be a contradiction, because one is a dualistic framework, one is a non-dualistic framework. But he said, first of all, there's no contradiction after enlightenment. It's the same reality you're dealing with. Second, he said, there's a direct answer to Shweta's question. Which one should I do? Which is higher? His answer was, a sannyasi should dwell on the non-dualistic teaching. I am Brahman, he said. That is, sannyasis should dwell on Vedanta and the non-dualistic conclusion. And then he said that, yes, this is a higher perspective. I am Brahman. But he said, in general, in day-to-day life, keep your mind on the mantra and on your Ishta Devata all throughout. When you feel inspired, your mind is rising to sublime heights, then study Vedanta and Nididhyasana. Stay with that Vedantic truth. This is a practical advice, not a theoretical philosophical advice. Practical advice is because most of the time before enlightenment, we are mostly in a dualistic mode. Mostly. And even when we feel very enlightened, we're still in the dualistic mode until ajnana is overcome, ignorance is overcome. There's a deep, this dualistic paradigm is the reality for us. So keep that for times of, when you feel like it, switch the paradigm, say I am Brahman and stay with it. Otherwise, rest of the time, when you're not feeling all that non-dualistic, when you're not feeling, even you're feeling mechanical and so, what all the time, keep repeating the mantra and try to keep your mind on Ishta Devata. And I do that actually. So two things. Swami Vivekananda himself recommended it. He said to one lady, he said, always keep two sides, madam, always keep two sides. I say, when I'm feeling good, I say, I am Brahman. And when I have a tummy ache, I say, mother. It's not, ultimately, it's not a contradiction. Philosophically, intellectual level, it's a contradiction. But ultimately, from the perspective of the ultimate reality, it is no contradiction. And there are Advaitic ways of reconciling it. Quite beautiful. Which Shankaracharya, even all the Shankaracharyas now, they perform every possible ritual. They are fully in support of bhakti, but they are established on non-duality. Sri Ramakrishna has the last word. Being established in non-duality, do whatever you feel like. And he says, Advaito Gyan Achole Vede Jaitchetai Karo. It's a reference to the women in the eastern part of India. They tie the keys of the house to the hem of the sari, like this they will tie. So he says, Sri Ramakrishna says, tie the knowledge of Advaita to the hem of your sari, to the hem of your cloth. Then do whatever you feel like. Whatever means, be a meditator, remain absorbed in Brahman, be dynamic and active and serve the world, be full of devotion, surrender to the Lord and be full of God consciousness, whatever you do, or be immersed in Vedantic study and inquiry. All of that is open to you, but the foundation is non-dualistic. All right, it's a good question. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. One thing I can say is that my personal belief, I'll share this with you. All this non-dualism I talk about, Advaita and everything, all this I feel, all this has come into my life as a blessing of that little mantra which my Guru gave me, the Ishta mantra. That itself keeps blessings, keeps on giving blessings throughout your life. So I feel my being a sannyasi and all the interest in Vedanta, whatever little I've got of it, and the ability to transmit, and all of that, it all comes, these are a series of blessings coming from that little mantra which the Guru handed over, initiated me into. And that's true for all of us.